Hey there survivors, how's it going? Welcome to Ark Survival Evolved. In this video I'm going to share 10 hidden base locations on Scorched Earth for solo players or small tribes. All these work on official settings, however the last 3 access the mesh, so use caution building in some of these if you're playing on official especially, as I'm not sure where any insta-death or auto mesh detection areas may be. But I'd also like to expose these mesh entrances just in case any dodgy tribes are built in any of these areas and still potentially undiscovered. Also, the last location might be the most broken spot on Scorched Earth. I haven't seen it shown in any of the videos I checked out, so I'm not sure if it's even known about. Anyway, let's get into the video. Okay, so this first one's at 24.352.8, and we're going to start off with a couple of the better known hidden base locations because Scorched Earth is a bit spare on rat holes and hidden base locations, but these first 2 I'm going to show are still good to start off with or just have a temporary base. Or if you think you can defend it, feel free to build up and knock yourself out. So anyway, this base is pretty well covered. It's quite hard to see, but it's quite well known about, so people usually will check it when they're flying past there. You also can't build down in this bottom bit, you can only build up on the top bit. And there's like a little crouch spot to kind of get in through to the top bit, but it's really hard to get up in. I think you can grapple up there and then crouch to get in. But I wouldn't advise staying here for long, it's just there's an alright building area to start you off. So anyway, let's move on to the next location. Alright, this next location's around 72.435.1, and again, it's quite a well-known location, but it is well hidden away, and if you can get it defended pretty quickly, then it is a pretty good spot to hold. There's 3 entrances. This is the biggest entrance here, and it's right by Red Obby. It's pretty easy to find when you know how to spot where the entrance is. But just give you a little look around just so you know where you're looking. But then you basically just look for this little cave, which isn't actually a cave, it's just a tunnel that kind of goes up, but it's got a lot of crystal and obsidian in it. And then it's just this little hole to the left of it. So this is the biggest entrance into here, and there is loads of space to build in here. There's not really much restrictions for official at all, this is all on official settings, all my base location videos are. And then I'll show you the other 2 entrances. This one over here is a crouch entrance, so you have to crouch to get through that one. And then there's a thin entrance here, which you can walk through, just about. You kind of almost get stuck going this way a little bit, but yeah, you can just about get through there. But there is a heck of a lot of building room, and barely any restrictions on official at all. If you did want to build here though, and you came here like on a freshly wiped server, it might be advisable to start building up in this top corner, as anybody who does come in here and fly through or run through, they might not look up in this corner and they might just go down to the bottom bit, and that might buy you the time to build up your base and turrets and defences as you need. Anyway, let's move on to the next location. So this next location's around 19.857.7. and this is just a tiny little crack that you can only really store a few things in. But there's normally a rock here as well, which you'd have to harvest to actually access this bottom bit to be able to build on. And as you can see, I could only place like 1 foundation, a few triangle foundations, but you can make it multi-level up here. And it is quite hard to spot unless you look specifically down the crack as you're flying past it. And there is this tree covering it as well, so as long as you keep the tree there, that kind of keeps that crack pretty well hidden. As you can see, there's not much going on around here, so as long as you turn your forges off in the night time, you should stay pretty well hidden. So this is just showing harvesting that bottom rock to access this little bottom bit. And there's not quite enough room to fit 2 regular foundations down here, unfortunately, so it's either 1 regular and a few triangle, or some triangles. So not a bad little spot to come and just get a smithy, some forges, and start getting things rolling. But let's move on to the next spot. Alright, this next spot's around 23.826.1, and it's up near Blue Ob, and it's just this little hole against the cliff up here. And it's under a bit of an overhang, so you do have to kind of be looking from this kind of direction to see down there. I'll just go out to Blue Ob and kind of show you the surroundings a little bit, just so you know where you're going. But if someone does have a big base near here and they farm on this area a lot, then obviously this isn't going to be a good base location. Now I could snap pillars down to here from the ceilings, but on official you can't build any lower than where I've built, unfortunately. So you can only build up from there. But on unofficial, this would make a much better base location, as you could utilise all this space down here. And it's a surprising amount of room, really. It's just a shame you can't build further down on official. But not a bad little spot at all. Now, the next spot we're going to is just around the corner, and I'd probably say it's more to accompany this spot. Right, so coordinates for this spot is 23.1, 28.0, and it's just under this little rock. And you can fit about this many foundations on official. I could have built closer to the wall actually and possibly put a third foundation across. But as you can see, it's on the same plateau level that I was just on with the other base, but it's just around the corner. And I thought I'd put it in the video because you could still use it as a little temporary base location or something. It's just it's near the obelisk, and as soon as you fly up here, you can kind of see in there, so any buildings would render in and be really obvious, unlike the other spot that I just showed before this, which you'd actually have to kind of fly over to like look into. But I'll just show you some of the building restrictions, like you can't build back there. You can build a little bit closer there, so you could build the regular foundations closer to the wall and maybe put a bit more that end. And because of the limit in height, obviously you can only fit some forges and a few other things in here. You can sort of cover yourself up a bit as well with walls. You could probably do a better job than I've just quickly done, but you get the gist of it. Anyway, let's head on to the next location. So this next location's at 41.2, 29.6, and it's just this little crack in the mountain basically. And I saw this on one of the videos I checked out as well, but it didn't show where the building restrictions are on official compared to unofficial. So this is basically as far down as I could build on official. I couldn't build any further down than that. But still, having 3 full-size foundations gives you quite a lot of room to work with. You know, you can fit quite a few forges on one foundation, you can fit a couple or maybe even a few smithies on another one. But let's just give you a view of the surrounding area as well, so you know what it looks like if you're going to just fly to this location and you don't have a GPS on you, for example. So you're just looking for this little crack. And as you can see, I can't place any other foundations or anything further down here. But if you look, it is about 2 foundations wide, so if you're playing on an unofficial server, you could probably make a pretty decent little base in here the way it funnels out towards the back. And if you're playing on official, I know you can't build down the back there, but you could still utilise the back bit to put some dinos, etc. and even breed some smaller dinos. Anyway, let's move on to the next location. Alright, this next location is going to be in the cave at the southeast of the desert region. Now I saw this spot in a couple of the videos that I saw as well, but again they didn't really show how you can utilise the building area on official, so I thought it was worth putting in. So you've got the artefact right over there, and then as you jump over these rocks, then you've got the building here on your left. And if you come up through this bottom crystal just hugging against the pillar, and then you'll see there's like a little rat hole up here. Now even though you can see through that wall, it's not like a mesh wall, you can't go through it, it's completely solid, so it may as well just be filled in. But I guess it's good for surveillance. You can look at it as an S+ wall. But anyway, just to demonstrate, I'll just turn the turret on, and the turret's on all targets, just to show that it won't even shoot the bats through there, because the wall is classed as an absolute solid object. And I've tried going through it, and there doesn't seem to be any gaps in it at all. As you can see now, I'm just kind of going back and forth, and it's just completely solid. So that is pretty handy, at least you know that people aren't going to shoot you with turrets through an invisible wall. So on official, you can only build down on these little bits right on the ground. You can't build up on any of these like sandstony bits. There's this one little area that you can place a triangle foundation in, I think. Yeah, right there. So you could probably build some pillars and build away from there. Let's just snap that there, and then I'll just show you that you can't put any triangle foundations anywhere else in here except for those little floor parts. So it is a bit restrictive, but you can build a lot of ceilings and pillars from just a few foundations. So you can basically pillar up as far as you want, and then you can just put extra ceiling levels, as long as there's no walls actually blocking you. So you might even have room for like a replicator in here or something. I'm not totally sure about that, I should have tried it out. But as you can see, you can build a pretty decent sized base in here. Obviously, because it's in a cave as well, you can't bring flyers in here, so you'd have to probably bring a bloodstalker or just come in here with something else and then grapple into this area and cryo your dino. But it's a cheeky little spot. So anyway, let's head on to the next location. Okay, so this next location's around 60.5, 18.9, and it's quite an interesting one because it's a little rat hole that could make a really good little base location on unofficial, because you can't actually build in the little rat hole on official, but there's a hole that goes through the rat hole that leads through to the underneath mesh basically, which you can actually build cliff platforms on official settings. Now this is one of the areas that I'm not sure if there's an auto mesh detection or kill barrier through the mesh hole, so I won't be trying this on an official server, but if you or someone in a bigger tribe wants to, I'd just probably go naked with like a throwaway low level pteranodon or something, fly down the mesh hole and see if you die. But as you can see, I can't place any triangle foundations anywhere in here at all, which is kind of a shame because it would be a lovely little rat hole base location. And can't get a cliff plat to snap either. Obviously, like I said, you could use this place really nicely on an unofficial server. But anyway, if we go down the mesh hole now, so this hole just goes straight through to the mesh, and as you can see, I've got some cliff platforms down here already, and these are snappable on official settings. So if you have to fly quite far down to actually get like auto killed, then you could potentially put some cliff platforms just down there and have a little base just in there. And like I've said, I don't really agree with mesh bases or anything. I think they're a bit cheeky, but again, it's kind of Wildcard's responsibility to actually address their own game, because again, if you can do something in the game, then they should have to patch it to fix it. But it would also be funny if people are already built down in some of these locations and then I've just exposed them. And I kind of hope that they're cheating tribes, because then hopefully they'll get wiped. So yeah, that's that first rat hole slash mesh hole. And again, would make quite a good little base location on unofficial, as long as you don't go through the mesh. Just block that up and just build in the rat hole. Anyway, let's move on to the next location slash mesh hole. Alright, so don't go by these coordinates exactly, but you're looking for this double bridge. There's only one double bridge like this through the Wyvern Scar, and you go into the very, very right corner, and then scoot just around this rock, and then you'll see there's a little hole down here that you can go down. And as you can see, you're looking through the mesh there already. I'll just go through there just to show you that it's mesh. And there's a little bit of mesh there you can see through, but for some reason you can't go through that bit, even though it looks like I should be big enough to. But anyway, I'll go down the main hole, and when you head all the way down here, you can basically build cliff platforms almost anywhere along here, and you're completely under the map again. You can fit a pteranodon through that hole as well, so it might be worth scouting just to see if you get auto-killed or not. Anyway, let's move over to the last broken location. Alright, so this last location is in the artifact cave in the far southeast again. And what you want to do is when you reach these rocks to jump over, jump to the first rock, and then you'll see a little gap down here. Now I'd advise grappling down there, but you can jump down there as you saw, but still I nearly fell off. And then there's a little gap through here which you can't crouch through, unfortunately. It is a knockout spot, but you can pretty reliably knock yourself out and get through it first time. You just have to make sure that you actually get yourself stuck in a running animation, and then you'll just launch through basically when you reach torpidity. And then I'll just wake myself up as well quickly by enabling creative mode. And as you can see, I got thrown right through. But I wouldn't advise doing it the other way, because the drop down on the other side is insta-death, so you will probably just throw yourself off the edge of the cliff and die. But that won't matter, as this is another area where you can exit through the mesh in a certain area. It's also still part of the cave, so you'll get dismounted off a flyer straight away. Now you can't build on any of this ground or wall connected to the wall that you threw yourself through, but you can build anywhere on like this glitchy wall. And so you can build quite a bit off a triangle foundation. Obviously you don't want to fall down there because that'll be insta-death. Further up as well, you can place cliff platforms. There's a few areas that you can build cliff platforms to kind of spread your base along this area. And you can also build on all of this area up here. So this area is kind of sloped, but then there's a nice flat area here that you can build quite a few foundations on. So the amount of building room that this area has given you so far, you can make quite a sizable base. And that's not even half of it. So I'll just disable creative mode so I can just grapple hook up to the next bit to show you. And oh, if the grapple will actually hook onto something. So you come up through this, and this is a mesh wall, so when I go through this and look back now, it's a solid wall, as you'll see. But you can grapple hook around there and actually swing around there if you really wanted to, unless you could build out more from there. But then you can build all along this area, and you could make an absolutely gigantic base back here. And as you can see through the mesh, you can see under the world. Just get at that bit. And then yeah, so you can see that weird box over there, which disappears when I fly towards it, so I don't know what that is exactly. But then you can either get out of your base by going through this wall, you know, it's just mesh, so you can go through it, but then you can't go back through it once you've gone through it, it's completely solid. And this area is still classed as in the cave, so you'll get dismounted from a flyer, so if you wanted to go up through those massive gaps to go through the floor to the surface, you'd need to use like a bloodstalker or a mana or something that's not a conventional flyer. But then if you can get a teleporter and a transmitter here, you're laughing. Oh yeah, I'll just show you grappling around to the other part as well, just to show you that you can get there easily. And yeah, you might be able to build out there to make a bridge around, but I doubt it just because you won't be able to place foundations to reach that far. But maybe cliff plats. And just to show you why you shouldn't do the knockout trick going towards the outside of the base, because you'll just fall down there and insta-die. Alright survivors, well that was 10 solo/small tribe base locations and broken spots on Scorched Earth. I've kept a few to myself for now, which I'll probably release in a future video. I'm not exactly going to expose my own hidden base in a video now, am I? But anyway, I hope you found this video helpful, and I hope you find some use out of some of these spots. So please drop a like and a sub and the usual YouTube shizzle, and I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye for now. Peace.